Hey, my name's Joseph. I'm 21, and I work as a mechanic at a local auto repair shop. It's nothing fancy, but it pays the bills. I live with my parents in a quiet little neighborhood outside the city. I've got my own room, decent privacy, and honestly, they don't bother me. They let me live my life. I've been there since high school, and until I save enough to move out, it's fine with me. My life's pretty simple right now. I work 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Sundays are sacred. That's my day. I sleep in, hang out with my friends, grab a beer, maybe play some Xbox, or just scroll through YouTube and Instagram for hours. No drama, no big stories, just real ordinary life. At least it used to be. That Sunday started just like any other. I woke up around 2 p.m. I stayed up late the night before watching random videos and texting with my buddies. I remember lying in bed, half awake, just swiping through short videos, watching dumb memes, catching up on car stuff. After a while, I sat up, stretched, and finally dragged myself out of bed. I opened my bedroom door and headed to the kitchen, and that's when I saw her. My mom was sitting at the table with a woman I'd seen maybe 2 or 3 times before. Her name was Jenna. She was my mom's coworker, maybe a few years older than her. I knew she was around 30-something, but she didn't look it. She always carried herself with this quiet confidence. Well-dressed, stylish, kind of elegant, but casual. The kind of woman you notice without her trying. They were drinking tea, laughing about something I didn't catch. As I walked in, my mom looked up and smiled. "Oh, honey," she said, "you're finally up. Come say hi to Jenna." "Hey," I mumbled, rubbing the back of my neck. "Hi, Alex," Jenna said with a friendly smile. "We've met before, right?" "Yeah," I said a couple times. "Good to see you again." I poured myself a glass of water, tried to stay out of the way. I didn't want to be awkward. I was still kind of groggy and in gym shorts. But whatever. Then Mom said, "Hey, sweetie, would you mind giving Jen a ride home? She walked over this morning, and I'd feel better if she didn't walk back alone." I glanced at Jenna. She gave me this polite, kind smile, but didn't say anything. "Sure," I said. "No problem, I just need to take a quick shower." "Perfect," Mom said. "Thank you." They kept chatting, and I want to freshen up. Took a quick shower, changed into jeans and a clean t-shirt, threw on my hoodie and grabbed a quick sandwich. I wasn't really expecting anything interesting to happen that day. I just figured I'd drop her off and head back to my lazy Sunday. 40. She got into the passenger seat and I started the car. I asked her if she was good with the AC. She nodded. As I backed out of the driveway, I asked, "So you live nearby, right?" "Yeah," she said. "About 10 minutes from here. Not far at all." We started driving. At first, there was a bit of silence, but then she turned slightly toward me and said, "Your mom tells me you're working at a garage now." "Yeah," I nodded. "Auto repair, pretty standard stuff. Oil changes, brakes, the occasional engine job when someone's desperate." "Do you like it?" "I do," I said. "It's hands-on, pays all right, and I get to work with good people. I'm thinking about eventually starting something of my own. Once I've got more saved up." She smiled. "That's great. Not a lot of people your age have that kind of mindset." I shrugged. "I just want to build something for myself. You know, move out one day, get my own place." She nodded slowly. "Makes sense." I asked her, "What about you? What do you do?" "Well," she said with a sigh, "I used to work full-time in marketing. That's how I met your mom. Lately, though, it's been hard." I glanced at her, curious but didn't want to pry. She went on. I was in a relationship for 3 years. We weren't married, but we lived together. I really thought he was the one. Then he cheated with my best friend. I stayed quiet. I didn't know what to say to something like that. I moved out for a bit, stayed with my sister. But now I'm back in that house, alone. It feels empty. Sorry, I said quietly. That sucks. She gave a weak smile. Yeah, it does. We were almost at her place. She pointed to a small white house on the left. That one, she said. I slowed down and pulled up by the curb. I shifted the car in a park and waited. She didn't move. She sat there staring at the house. After a few seconds, she said softly, I don't want to go in. I looked at her, a little surprised. You okay? She nodded, but her eyes looked tired. This house reminds me of him. Every corner, every stupid coffee mug, he lived here with me. And now it's just silence. I hate being in there alone. I didn't know what to say. She looked over at me and asked, Do you have any plans today? I blinked. Not really, I was just going to chill. She hesitated, then said, Would you want to hang out just for a little while? I don't want to be alone today. I paused, then said, Sure, yeah, I'm not doing anything. She exhaled, almost relieved. Thanks, let's go somewhere. I don't care where, just not here. And so I pulled away from her house and drove. We didn't have a destination. I just kept driving, figuring she'd tell me where to go. She didn't. She sat back in the passenger seat, quiet first, then asked, What kind of music do you like? I told her I was into chill stuff, nothing too loud, mostly mellow indie or acoustic tracks when I was driving alone. She smiled and said, Mind if I put something on? I handed her the AUX cord, and she scrolled through her phone before playing a soft, jazzy song I'd never heard before. It wasn't my usual vibe, but it fit the mood. It was the kind of song that made the silence feel okay. We rolled through the main road, then turned onto a quieter stretch near the river. It was a warm Sunday afternoon, that slow kind of sunlight falling through the trees. Every now and then she'd comment on something random. The old bakery that used to be a bookstore, a restaurant she'd been to with him, a place she used to go with her sister. I listened, that's mostly all I did. Do you know what's weird? She asked suddenly. What? I spent the last 2 months trying to avoid this town. Every street felt like it belonged to someone else. I'd walk into a grocery store and expect to see his face. I glanced at her, not sure what to say. She continued, And now here I am in a car with you, feeling more okay than I felt in weeks. I didn't say anything, I just kept driving. Eventually, we pulled into a gas station. I needed fuel anyway, and she asked if it had snacks inside. I nodded and said I'd fill up while she grabbed something. When I came back in, she was at the counter with 2 hot dogs, a bottle of water, and a pack of gum. You eat? She asked, holding out one of the hot dogs. I grinned. Not since that sandwich. Then take this, she said. You're driving, you deserve something. We sat in the car, eating like kids on a road trip. She told me about her ex. How they met at work, how he moved in with her after 6 months, how fast it all happened. I ignored so many red flags, she said. He was charming. That's what everyone says, right? He's just so charming. Yeah, I said. Charm's easy, respect's harder. She looked at me for a second and smiled. That's a smart thing to say. We finished eating, and I asked, You want to go anywhere specific? She thought about it. There's a park, it's kinda on a hill. You can see the whole town from there. I haven't been there in a while, so that's where we went. I'd been there before. but only once. It was quiet, just a few people walking dogs and a couple lying on a blanket in the distance. We didn't leave the car. We just sat there with the windows rolled down, letting the breeze in. For a while, we didn't talk. She closed her eyes and leaned her head back against the seat. I looked out over the trees and rooftops. Something about that moment felt like a pause in real life. Like we were both floating, not really anywhere. She opened her eyes and said, "You know, I thought today would be one of those days where I'd stay in bed and feel sorry for myself. Instead, you're here eating gas station hot dogs with a guy you barely know." She laughed. Exactly. 30 when she asked if I had time to keep going. I told her I had nowhere to be. She asked if we could just keep driving, and I said sure. So we did. I didn't ask why. I didn't push for anything. I just drove. She asked more about me, about my dad, my job, my friends. I told her I wasn't exactly a party type, that most of my Sundays looked like this, minus the beautiful woman in the passenger seat. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're sweet, but you don't have to flirt with me." "I'm not," I said. "I mean it." She looked at me again, but this time it was different, like she didn't know what to do with that kind of honesty. Around 8, the sky started changing colors. We pulled into a small coffee shop drive-thru, grabbed 2 iced lattes, and parked near an old shopping center that was mostly empty. We sipped our drinks in silence. I don't remember the last time someone spent a whole day with me without checking their phone every 5 minutes, she said. "I do that when I'm bored," I replied. "And you're not bored?" I shook my head. "No, I'm good." There was a long pause. She took a deep breath. "I'm scared, you know." "Of what?" "That this is just a good day. That I'll go home and it'll feel even worse now." I wanted to say something that would make it easier, but all I said was, "Then don't go home yet." We stayed out until just after 10. I drove her back to her places slowly. When we pulled up, she didn't move. Again, she turned to me, soft eyes, a tired smile. "Thank you. Really, I didn't expect any of this today." "Neither did I said. She hesitated, then leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. Not playful, not flirty, just real. She stepped out of the car, walked to the front door, and before going in, turned around. "I'll text you," she said. And she did. After that Sunday, I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't even sure she'd actually text me. But around noon the next day, right as I was finishing lunch at work, my phone buzzed. It was her. "Jenna, thanks again for yesterday." I really needed that. I smiled and texted back something simple like anytime. I didn't want to come off too eager, but truthfully, I've been thinking about her since the moment she got out of the car. Over the next few days, we messaged a bit. Nothing heavy, just check-ins, jokes, casual stuff. She'd ask how work was going, and I'd ask if she finally cleaned her fridge like she said she needed to. She had this way of texting that felt real, not like someone trying to impress you, just being herself. That Friday evening, she asked, "What are you doing this weekend?" I told her, "Working Saturday, off Sunday as always." Then she said, "Would you want to hang out again?" Of course I did. Sunday came, and I picked her up around 1. She was waiting outside her place, this time dressed a little more casually. Jeans, hoodie, hair tied back. No makeup, or if she had any on, I couldn't tell. She still looked beautiful, not in a polished way, in a normal human way. Comfortable. We didn't have a plan again. That kind of became our thing. We started with coffee, then walked around a nearby outdoor mall. She pointed out a necklace she liked in a store window but didn't go in. We sat on a bench and talked about movies we loved, music we hated, childhood memories, dumb things we did in high school. For a while, I forgot about the age gap. I forgot about how we met. I forgot about everything except the way it felt easy to be around her. Later that day, we drove up to the overlook again. Same place, same bench. But this time, we got out of the car and actually sat on the edge, watching the sun go down behind the trees. I remember her looking straight ahead and saying, "It's weird. I don't feel like I have to explain myself around you." I just nodded, same. There wasn't any dramatic kiss or confession. We just sat there, and for once, the quiet wasn't awkward. It was calm, safe. When I dropped her off, she didn't kiss me this time. She just touched my hand and said, "Thanks for not making this complicated." But of course it was gonna get complicated. We both knew it. Over the next few weeks, we kept seeing each other. Always on Sundays. Sometimes we'd go out. Sometimes we'd just drive around or hang at her place, watching shows and eating takeout. One Sunday, she taught me how to make real carbonara. Not the cream-filled version people fake, the real stuff. I made a mess. She laughed until she was crying. The more time we spent together, the more I saw her not as my mom's friend or some older woman, but just Jenna, a person, strong, vulnerable, sarcastic kind. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, and I think that's what pulled me in. But we were still hiding. I didn't tell my friends. She didn't tell my mom. Every time I dropped her off, it was like we were pressing pause. We'd smile, say goodbye, and then act like nothing ever happened during the week. And it worked for a while. One Sunday night, after dinner and a few glasses of wine, we sat on her couch. She was curled up with her legs under her, holding her wine glass, looking thoughtful. "I don't think I can keep this up forever," she said. I turned to her. "What do you mean?" "I mean the sneaking around, the waiting all week just to see you for a few hours. I'm starting to care too much to pretend it's casual." I felt a knot in my chest. I hadn't said out loud yet, but I cared too, more than I wanted to admit. "You think we should stop?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, that's the thing. I don't want to stop. I want to be able to hold your hand in public. I want to go to dinner and not worry who sees." I sat there for a second, thinking. Then I said, "Then maybe I should tell my parents." Her eyes widened slightly. "You do that?" "Yeah, I mean, they're gonna find out eventually. And I'd rather they hear it from me than from someone else." She didn't say anything at first. Then she smiled and leaned over, pressing her forehead to mine. "You're braver than I thought." I shrugged. "I just know what I want." She kissed me, not on the cheek this time. It wasn't rushed or heated, just long, soft, and sure. Like she was saying thank you without the words. That night, I drove home feeling like something shifted, like we weren't hiding in the dark anymore. And yeah, I was nervous about telling my parents, but I wasn't going to keep living halfway. Not with her. I waited until Wednesday to tell my parents. It wasn't because I was scared of them exactly. They were good people, supportive for the most part, but I didn't know how they'd take it. I mean, Jenna wasn't just older. She worked with my mom, and I was sure they'd already built an idea of who I should be with someday. Probably someone my age, someone they'd meet through church or at a barbecue. Not a 36-year-old divorcee who cried in my car 3 weeks ago. That evening after dinner, we were all in the living room. My dad was watching a rerun of some car restoration show, and my mom was scrolling through her tablet. I figured if I didn't say it now, I never would. I cleared my throat. "Hey, can I talk to you guys for a second?" They both looked at me. My mom raised an eyebrow. "Of course. What's up?" I stayed standing. My palms were sweaty, which felt dumb. I wasn't confessing to a crime, but I felt like I was. "I've been seeing someone," I said. My mom blinked. "Okay, it's someone you know." My dad muted the TV. "It's Jenna," I said, "your friend from work." There was a beat of silence. My mom's face didn't move. No expression, just still. My dad looked from her to me. "Wait, Jenna, as in, yeah, you're dating her?" my mom finally asked. I nodded. "We've been seeing each other for about a month. It started out kind of random. That Sunday when I drove her home, we ended up spending the day together. And after that, we just kept talking. I didn't plan it, but it feels right." Mom set down her tablet and leaned back in the chair. "She's 12 years older than you, Alex." 11, I corrected quietly. "I'm turning 25 in 2 months." She gave me a look. "I'm not saying it's forever," I added. "I'm just saying that I like her a lot, and I think she likes me too. I didn't want to keep hiding it." There was a long pause. Dad finally spoke up. "Well, I mean, it's not illegal." He chuckled awkwardly. "And it's not the weirdest thing I've ever heard." My mom shot him a look. "I'm just saying," he added, raising his hands. My mom looked back at me. "Does she know you're telling us?" "She didn't ask me to," I said. "But I figured if this is something real, I should be honest." She was quiet again, not angry, just processing. "I've known her for years," she said eventually. "She's had a hard time. I know about the breakup. I didn't know you two were even talking." "She was honest with me," I said, "from the start. She didn't lead me on. We've just been good together." My mom gave me this long look. Not judgmental, but like she was trying to see something in me she hadn't before. Like I'd grown up when she wasn't looking. Then she said, "Okay." I blinked. "Okay. I'm not going to pretend it's not a little strange for me," she said. "But if you're happy and she's not hurting you, then okay." My dad clapped his hands together. "All right, drama over. Now can we unpause the engine rebuild?" We laughed. The tension broke a little. My mom smiled, but it was the kind of smile that said she'd still need time. And that was fine with me. That night, I texted Jenna and told her everything. She didn't respond right away, and I started wondering if I'd made a mistake. Maybe she didn't want this to be out in the open. Maybe I just ruined something that was good because I rushed it. But 20 minutes later, she called. I answered on the first ring. "You really told them?" she asked. "Yeah, I did." There was a long pause on her end. Then she said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For not making me feel like a secret." I felt a lump in my throat. "You were never a secret." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said, "Can I see you Sunday? You don't even have to ask." That Sunday, everything felt different. Not better or worse, just more real. I picked her up around noon. We went to a local outdoor market. For the first time, we walked side by side, close enough that our arms touched. I saw a couple people look at us, but I didn't care. Neither did she. We had lunch on a patio downtown, chicken sandwiches and iced teas, and she looked at me across the table and said, "You're really doing this, huh?" I smiled. "Yeah, I guess I am." That afternoon, we went back to her place. We sat on the couch, watching a movie neither of us paid attention to. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I held her hand. It was quiet, comfortable. Later, before I left, she walked me to the door like she always did, but this time she said, "You want to come back tomorrow or Wednesday? I don't want to wait until next Sunday." I laughed. "You sure you can handle that much of me?" She smirked. "I'm starting to think I can." I kissed her right there at the door. Not rushed, not hidden. It wasn't a secret anymore. Driving home, I realized that the weird part wasn't telling my parents. It was that I'd spent so long expecting this to fall apart, and now it wasn't. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just going through the motions. I was choosing something, someone, and she was choosing me too. It's been 7 months since that Sunday when I agreed to give Jenna a ride home. A lot's changed since then. Some things stayed the same. I still work at the garage, still live with my parents, still take Sundays seriously. But there's something different now, a different rhythm, a different reason to look forward to the end of the week. After I told my parents, things between Jenna and me started feeling more steady. Less like we were sneaking around, and more like we were building something, even if we didn't fully know what yet. For a while, we still only saw each other a few times a week. She was cautious, I was patient. We'd meet for lunch after her shifts, or I'd stop by her place after work for dinner. It wasn't rushed, and maybe that's what made it work. We never had to talk about what we were. It just became obvious. I wasn't seeing anyone else, neither was she. We weren't playing games. We were just together. Her place started to feel like a second home to me. At first, it was little things. I had a toothbrush in her bathroom, a hoodie on the back of her chair. Then it was more groceries with my name on them, drawers I started to use. She gave me a key 2 months ago without making a big deal about it. Just handed it to me with a quiet, "In case you get here before I do." We're not rushing into moving in together full time. I'm not there yet financially, and we both know how fast things can get messy when people move in just because it feels good in the moment. But we've talked about it. We're planning slowly, saving, thinking ahead. And my parents? Honestly, they adjusted. My mom was quiet for a few weeks after I told her, but she never said anything negative. One Sunday, Jenna came over for dinner. My mom cooked, my dad cracked his usual jokes, and Jenna handled it all with grace. That night, after she left, my mom told me, "I get it now. She makes you softer." She was right. Being with Jenna didn't make me feel like I had to prove anything. I didn't have to act tougher, older, cooler. I could just be who I was, 24, still figuring it out, still building a life. And she didn't expect me to be anyone else. Of course, we've had tough moments too. There was a night when I was over, and she broke down crying in the kitchen. She'd gotten a message from her ex's mom, something harmless on the surface, just a thinking of you kind of text, but it reopened things she tried to put away. I just held her, didn't try to fix it, didn't say anything dumb like he didn't deserve you. She already knew that. She just needed someone to be there in the moment. And I was. There were times when I wondered if the age gap would eventually get in the way, like when her coworkers talked about buying houses and planning for kids. And I was still putting aside $20 a week to fix up my car. But Jenna never made me feel small. She never threw my age in my face or compare me to someone else. And because of that, I never felt like I had to apologize for where I was in life. She told me once, "You're younger, yeah, but you're present. That matters more to me than someone who's 40 and emotionally checked out. That stuck with me. Now it's May and the weather's warming up. We started talking about taking a short trip together, maybe to the mountains or to the coast for a weekend. Nothing fancy, just something outside of town where we don't run into people from work or the grocery store, somewhere quiet. Last weekend, we sat on her porch eating takeout, and she said, "I don't know where this is all going, but I'm glad it's going somewhere with you." And I told her I felt the same way. We're not rushing marriage. We're not planning kids. We're not living in a romantic fantasy. We're just two people, 11 years apart, who found something when we least expected it. And right now, that's enough. Sometimes I still think about that first day, how random it was, how I almost said no when my mom asked me to give her a ride. I'd just woken up. I was groggy, still in gym shorts, not in the mood to do anyone a favor. But I said yes, and that one simple decision, it changed everything. She still jokes about it sometimes, you know. She'll say, "I never thought I'd meet someone like you that day. I just wanted to get home." And I'll reply, "You never even made it inside." She smiles. Good thing. So yeah, that's how it started. I agreed to drive her home, but she didn't want to get out of the car, and I'm glad she didn't.